Dear Leisha, law school is ruining my life. In other news, I went to the movies a while ago and I saw Captain America 3: Civil War. It is hailed by many as, oh my gosh, it's the best superhero movie ever! It's not actually, but it was still lots of fun. Leisha, most of your questions about the movie were regarding the fate of the Winter Soldier after the last Captain America film, so I'm here to tell ya. Mate, yeah, Jason Bourne called, he wants his storyline back. What is it with Hollywood and brainwashed government assassins with amnesia suddenly getting a conscience? But hey, if it ain't broke. So anyway, Civil War is an overblown melodramatic blockbuster flick in which a lot of things happen and simultaneously not a lot happens. There's this cool guy that shrinks, the cool guy with the wings is back, there are hints of a creepy human-robot romance in bloom, and the Russian chick is pissed that the aforementioned amnesiac doesn't remember her. Long story short, this guy wants this guy dead for a terrorist attack that killed his father. Turns out he didn't do it and was framed by this guy. Meanwhile, this guy wants this guy dead for wasting his parents back in '91, which he did do. And his buddy Freedom McPatriot, aka Captain America, wants to let him off because that's what you do? As I was sitting in the theatre running from my first world problems, two things ran through my mind. One, this would be a really dull movie if no one dies at the end. And two, is there a criminal defence available for the Winter Soldier in the New Zealand legal system? Confirmation for the first was revealed in due time, but an answer to the second requires some further analysis. Firstly, what's the deal with this guy? History, overview, material facts. Movie 1, alternate history, World War II. Here's the protagonist's trusty sidekick from Brooklyn who gets captured and experimented on by Nazis, is the subject of a daring rescue plan behind enemy lines, and then dies. Movie 2, fast forward 100 years, but wait, he's not really dead. He lost an arm but gets a new metal one. He had his memory wiped, kept alive on ice for decades, being given superhuman strength, probably has a headache and is now one of the deadliest assassins in modern history. Captain America recognizes him and gets kind of emotional, and then he punches his friend's brains back into some form of working order. And here we find ourselves at movie 3, in which a whole bunch of people awkwardly discuss what to do about him. He's killed a lot of people, smashed up a lot of stuff, and made a lot of people very angry, kind of like, oh, I don't know, every other superhero ever. The distinguishing issue here is that he claimed to not be acting of his own volition at all, instead being used as an MK Ultra styled sleeper agent by various government bad guys. And so, we have our case. These are your charges, how do you plead? But, Your Honor, I was brainwashed! Counsel for the defense? Yes, Your Honor. That's not a thing. Of course it is. Do you remember the Jason Bourne trial? Are you on drugs again? There was no Jason Bourne trial. They let him go so he could make another movie. As far as I could find, there aren't any brainwashing cases in New Zealand that fit this kind of situation, and the very few that tried in America failed. But let's see what other defences might work. What? I'm not insane. You threw a guy through the engine of a jet plane, then jumped onto a moving vehicle on a freeway. I don't remember that. Exactly. In order to prove insanity, you must first prove that there is a disease of the mind, rendering him incapable either of understanding the nature and quality of the act or omission, or knowing the act or omission was morally wrong having regard to the commonly accepted standards. OMG, that sounds like me! I didn't know what I was doing, and the times when I did I couldn't stop myself. They messed with my brain! They made my mind diseased! One problem here, the disease of the mind must be internal. It cannot have an external origin like getting your head tampered with, or getting hit with a large stick. But with Captain America's shield, that hurts, Steve. So far, you're still guilty. Automatism signifies action without conscious volition, or an act which is done with the muscles without any control by the mind. The accused is sane, but acted involuntarily in a dissociative state as a result of external stress or trauma, either physical or psychological, which the mind of an ordinary person would not likely to have withstood. Okay, Your Honour, we're arguing that one. Well, let's just check the requirements. 1. You must have had no appreciation of the key facts relevant to each crime. That is debatable. 2. You must have had no capacity to make a decision to act with respect to those facts. I don't believe this is true, as there is plenty of evidence of long-term planning regarding your missions, shall we call them, and evidence of conscious and complex decision-making in order to fulfill said missions. Thirdly, you must have had no capacity to form each of the residual mental elements of the particular mens rea involved. What? It's legalese for intent to kill. So we're screwed with this one? Yeah. And that was our best shot. Were you drugged? Lots of times. Every time? No. I'm drunk! I can see that. Your Honour, as a soldier, as government property, he was just following orders. And on those grounds you're hoping the accused will escape criminal liability? Let's go through the criteria. The person was under a legal obligation to obey orders of the government or the superior in question. What? No, it wasn't. They kidnapped me from my unit and forced me to work for Hydra. The person did not know that the order was unlawful. Oh, yeah, I did. That's why I kicked up a fuss. And the order was not manifestly unlawful. Counsel, it seems your client has more understanding of this defence than you do. Meh. For self-defence to be successful as a defence, the jury must consider what the accused believed his or her circumstances to be from their point of view. Then, bearing in mind what the accused believed about what was happening, determine whether the accused believed they were acting in self-defence, and finally, given that belief and the scenario, determine whether the force used in self-defence was reasonable. And now we come to the murder of Tony Stark's parents. I can't remember their names, but they're dead. Self-defence. Ding! Wrong answer! You strategically hunted them down and shanked the two of them with your bare hands. Thank you for playing. You are going directly to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. A person who commits an offence under compulsion by threats of immediate death or grievous bodily harm from a person who is present when the offence is committed is protected from criminal liability if he believes that the threat will be carried out and if he is not a party to any association or conspiracy thereby he is subject to. Your Honour, this would fit the accused situation of being tortured into submission until he complied with that question. I would otherwise be convinced, but this wasn't just a one-off. The perceived threat was nowhere in sight, and you've been doing this for the last 85 years or so as your job and been pretty chill about it. If you're referring to me being frozen on ice between assignments, I take offence. Just let it go. Criteria for duress is for a belief formed on reasonable grounds of imminent death or serious injury if the illegal action was not taken. That is, circumstances in which the accused had no realistic choice but to break the law. However, the breach of law must be proportionate to the peril involved. Seriously? Soz. For the defence of necessity to apply, the act is needed to avoid inevitable and irreparable evil. No more should be done than is reasonably necessary for the purpose to be achieved, and the evil inflicted must not be disproportionate to the evil avoided. You want to use that to get away with high-profile assassinations? Maybe? You got a messiah complex or something. I am this close to throwing your ass in jail for being a murderer and a terrorist, and your ass in jail for obstruction of justice and generally being a useless lawyer. Any further submissions? Yes, Your Honour, just one more. I propose a new common law defence to be created in the scenario my client finds himself in. Oh, and what might that be? Style points. What? Style points. This isn't actually a thing, but in this case, I think it should be. For instance, yes, alright, I'll let you off. For what? Everything. Whoa! Thanks, Cohen J. Cohen CJ? Nah, if you all don't mind, I gotta go and arrange an accident for someone. If it's Donald Trump, you can keep the change.